What's going on? What I'm going to be doing in this video here is showing you step by step how to set up the abandoned cart flow in Klaviyo. Not just that, I'm going to be showing you how to set up the exact best variation. All right. And the reason why I say that is because, we've run literally thousands of A B tests over the past 3 years on this exact flow. And, I've seen all the other videos on YouTube teaching this exact topic, and they all teach suboptimal methods. So, you could skip all of those. Just watch this video here. It's going to save you 3 years of A B testing. Also, if you stay towards the end, I have a free gift that I'm going to be giving you that's going to help you expedite the process of setting this up. So you might be wondering, why do I need an abandoned cart flow? All right, so having an optimized abandoned cart flow is one of the easiest ways to maximize your, return on ad spend and customer lifetime value. All right, the abandoned cart flow is so effective because without one, 70% of potential customers will abandon their cart before they buy. All right, so the vast majority. But a fully optimized cart flow will recover up to 20% of them on autopilot. Meaning once you set it up, once it's fully optimized, you just let it run and then it recovers 20%. A good percentage of those people who convert will go on to become high LTV repeat customers. All right. But the problem is that most brands' cart flow is very basic if they have one. I've audited hundreds, if not thousands, of e-commerce stores at this point. All right. And I'm very familiar with their cart flows. They're not that great. So this costs them 5 to 6 figures per month in lost revenue. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Max Alexander. I'm the founder of Skyro Digital, which is a retention marketing agency that manages 40 plus brands. All right. What I'm about to show you here is a result of thousands of A/B tests across 300,000 e-commerce customers. That is the customers of my clients. Is worked for 100% of the brands that we manage, and it's going to work for you too. All right. Part one, the abandoned cart flow strategy. All right, now this part is extremely important, yet literally everybody overlooks this. Most brands and agency owners, they just go in, set up the default flow, and just start designing the emails without even considering the strategy. All right, so that is completely wrong because number one, if you're following the wrong strategy, you're going to be sending the wrong emails at the wrong time to the wrong people. All right. And that's going to result in you making a lot less money than you otherwise could, which is the whole point of this. All right. Number two, you're also going to be giving discounts away to people who otherwise would have bought at full price. All right. So I'm just going to show you the optimal strategy that we found over, like I mentioned, thousands of A B tests. All right. All right. So the first thing that we need to do is plan out the emails that we're going to be creating. Here's the strategy that we found to consistently convert the most recipients into customers. All right. So what you need to know is that it's going to be typically 4 to 6 emails long. All right. This is going to depend on your list size as well as the overall responsiveness of your audience. And then number two, the optimal content strategy is going to be reminder followed by small offer, followed by big offer, followed by the same, big offer, but you're giving some urgency on this last one. All right, and I'm going to explain what all this means here in a second, but essentially what you need to know about the flow is that anybody who completes their order at any point in this flow is going to be removed, all right, and then put into the post-purchase flow, which is a separate flow. So what we're essentially doing here is we're incrementally increasing the offer to anybody who doesn't buy the further that they get into the flow with the purpose of converting them at their maximal price. All right. Now, here's sort of a visual, but the breakdown is as follows. So, email one, you're not going to give them a discount. You're just going to give them a reminder. Time delay on this one is going to be 30 minutes to 2 hours after they, started checkout but didn't purchase. Email two, you're going to be giving them a small discount, one that you could move up from in subsequent emails, but also one that allows people to, sort of feel like they're getting a special deal. So an example here is going to be free shipping, 10% off, etc. You could test that out a little bit. The time delay here is going to be 24 hours minus the time delay from email one. So for instance, if on email one, you have a time delay of 30 minutes, in this case, it's going to be 23 hours and 30 minutes between email one and email two. Email three, what you're going to do here is give them a larger discount. For instance, if you offered 10% in email two, on this one, you're going to be offering 15% off, okay? The time delay here is going to be 24 hours after you sent email two. Email four, all right, this is going to be the same discount as email three. So in this example, it's going to be 15% off. But this time you're inserting some urgency, and the whole purpose of this one is to break the inertia of the people who otherwise, think that the product is good, think that it's, worth it at this particular price, but are just too lazy to purchase. They're like, oh, I'll just buy it tomorrow, right? So that's what the urgency here is for. Offer is expiring in 24 hours is a good example. All right, moving on. All right, so here's an example from one of our clients. All right, as you can see here, email one is just a reminder. I mean, you'd probably have to zoom in a little bit. I'll give you this doc towards the end of this video. But yeah, this is essentially what it looks like. Part 2, email structure. All right, now this part is also massively important to maximizing the conversion rate, but barely anybody talks about it, and that is email structure. All right. There are 5 core elements that should be included in your abandoned cart emails. And as long as these are in place, you can then take any creative liberties you like on the design side of things. But the optimal email structure has to include the hero image plus header, right? The offer, if applicable, the dynamic product block, the call to action, which ideally should link to the checkout page, which is basically the domain.com/checkout, usually. And this one's a bit more optional, but also definitely worth including as well, because it can increase the conversion rate significantly. It's going to be the social proof, aka, customer reviews, press mentions, anything that sort of increases the perception and trustworthiness of the brand. All right. And here's sort of a visual example of what all this looks like when you put it together. So obviously you need to include the logo at the top. Generally a short hero image containing these, the offer plus call to action superimposed onto the hero image. You can include some body text here if you want, but keep it concise. Now, very important here, obviously, is going to be the coupon code plus urgency. You want to make it visually stand out. People see it right away. Dynamic product block, right? So these are going to be the items in their cart. Call to action button down here. So ideally, you're going to have one call to action button at the top and then one down here below the dynamic product block. Social proof, all right? So this is going to be your customer reviews, press mentions, etc. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to briefly show you some examples of some of our highest converting emails from different brands, different niches. And I'm just going to sort of scroll through them really quickly. If you'd like to sort of look at them, study them, and, even duplicate them and use them on your own, I'm going to be leaving the link to this doc in the description, right? So, and I also recommend using these examples as inspiration to build your own abandoned cart emails. All right, so let's take a look. So this is going to be email 1, example 1. All right, email 1, example 2. Email 1, example 3. And then email 2, this is where you bring in, the first offer, and you could check this out. Anyways, you kind of get the idea. All right, and here's a swipe file of our highest performing abandoned cart emails. So you'll be able to access this if you want. Again, the link is in the description of this video here, and you'll be able to go in and duplicate it, edit it around for your own brand. All right, moving on. All right, so how to set up the abandoned cart flow in Klaviyo. All right, so once you've built the emails in the template section, you'll then want to set up the actual flow in Flows. All right, now I actually put together a full video of how to do this step by step, so you can check out the video here. All right, moving on. A/B testing, and this is once everything's set up in Klaviyo. The next step is to set up your initial A/B test to maximize the conversion rate of your flows as it collects data. All right, now this step is really important because even though everything I'm giving you here is what generally works the best across all brands, of course your brand and your audience is going to be unique to you. All right, so that's going to require some A/B testing, and I'm going to be showing you the exact A/B tests that we run through for all of our new clients. All right, and this is the stuff that has the highest likelihood of making a big impact in your results. So that's going to be testing the time delay, subject line and preview text, the offer, and that could be, giving cash back versus % off versus dollar off versus free shipping versus gift with purchase, just as some examples of the offer there that work. Email structure, of course, so you could test having a hero image versus having no hero image. Social proof, including that versus not including it. Risk reversals, which of your risk reversals actually matters to your audience. So that could be we have a 90-day money-back guarantee, etc. Coupon code format, so that could be a dynamic code made in Klaviyo, static code made in Shopify, auto-applied at checkout versus manually having to copy and paste it at checkout, those sorts of things, right? And here's sort of a visual of what these A/B tests will look like. All right, so we have our hero image versus no hero image here on the left. Sometimes that boosts conversion rate. Percentage off versus cash back on the right over here. And then down here, just a simple time delay A/B test. As you can see, it's testing 2 hours versus 30 minutes. All right, so what are the important metrics to focus on? Because I see a lot of confusion around this and a lot of people testing for the wrong stuff. All right, so obviously the most important metric to gauge performance is sales. All right. At the end of the day, that's the main thing that we're trying to do here is we're trying to maximize sales. Okay. Now, secondary metrics are going to be the open rate and click rate. But at the end of the day, sales is going to take precedence over open and click rate in all circumstances. Meaning if one of the variations has higher sales but lower open/click rate, then the variation with the higher sales wins. All right. Sometimes that happens where, less people open and click on it overall, but the buyer intent of the person clicking on that variation is higher, so that one will have higher sales. And ultimately, open and click rate only matter if sales are roughly equal. So do not be optimizing for open rate first. That is incorrect. In the image below, the place order value highlighted in red represents the primary metric that we're using to gauge performance. So that's right here. In this example, variation A has a place order rate of 2,200, which is much higher than the variation B's place order rate of 800. So variation A clearly wins here. All right, so this is a very clear example here. And then highlighted in blue is the number of people who placed an order and the number of deliveries. We're going to be using those numbers to calculate the conversion rate. In this example, the conversion rate on variation A would be, and here's sort of the equation. We're essentially dividing the number of recipients who placed an order versus the number of people who it was delivered to. Conversion rate is 1.9%. All right, conversion rate on variation B using that same equation is 0.87%. All right, so massive difference here. So variation A has a much higher conversion rate than variation B, so A wins here too. So clearly we're going to go with the variation A here, just as an example. All right, so there are a few factors to consider when deciding when to end a test. All right, so number one is going to be the statistical significance level. All right, and by the way, nobody actually talks about this. Like, this has to do with basic statistics, but I see people getting this wrong all the time, where they're like, "Oh, that doesn't have a big enough sample size." All right, so here's how you can objectively tell whether or not your test is valid. Statistical significance level. All right, so this is basically how confident that the winning variation is winning due to the variable that we're testing and is not a fluke. All right, so generally speaking, a significance level of the p-value of less than 0.05 is ideal. The 0.05, which is roughly equivalent to 5%, represents the probability that the test was a fluke. So anything below 0.05, or in other words, 5% chance, is considered good. All right. However, you also got to take into account how much store traffic you have, because if your store has lower traffic, you're going to generally have to accept a lower statistical significance level for your A/B tests. Otherwise it would take literally months to conduct A/B tests, which, the name of the game here is time efficiency. All right. So we're essentially balancing confidence level versus, how much time it takes to run a test. So there's no specific formula for this. So it's something that you're going to have to develop sort of an intuitive feel for. For instance, if you have lower store traffic, you may want to accept a significance level of P is less than 0.1, meaning the odds that the test was a fluke is below 10%. All right, now let me show you how to figure out this p-value stuff. All right, so I recommend using the website VWO Free Tools, and you'll be able to get the link to this in this doc here. Using that to calculate statistical significance levels. All right, so just plug in the number of visitors, which is basically the number of deliveries, and the number of conversions, the number of people who place order for both variations, and it'll give you a p-value, representing the statistical significance of your test. It's going to give you, some p-values and these charts. I'm going to show you how to interpret that. So in this example here, highlighted in the red over here is the confidence level that the test was due to the variable that we're testing and not due to a fluke. All right, in this case, it's a 97% chance that the test was not a fluke, which means that it's statistically significant. All right, so we could be highly confident that this test made a huge difference due to, the variable that we're testing. So that's how you interpret that. And what probability to be the best here that you accept is completely up to you, and that's sort of the intuitive feel part. All right. If you have low store traffic, then, anything over 90% would be considered good, for example. All right. Now, this is the step-by-step action plan of putting all this together. All right. So step one, you need to build the strategy based on the first section of this document here. So number one is deciding how many emails you want to have in your flow. So anywhere between 4 to 6 emails is optimal. This is going to, again, depend on the list size plus audience responsiveness. Number two, you need to decide decide what offers you want to give for each email. So you're going to generally need one smaller offer, for example, 10% off, and one larger offer. That's going to be 15% off, for example. Step 2. Create the emails in your design platform of choice. I recommend Figma. In my opinion, that's the best design platform according to, this section of the document as a guide. Step 3, you need to upload the designs from Figma into the template section of Klaviyo. Step 4, you're going to want to follow the step-by-step instructions in the video that I talked about earlier to set up the actual flow in Klaviyo, all right? And that's going to include all the technical setup, like where do you find the dynamic product block, etc. So watch that. And step 5, optimize the conversion rate of the flow over time by following the A/B testing instructions here. All right, so I'm going to need to fix this here. But yeah, too many people make the mistake of just setting this up and then just forgetting about it. That is completely wrong, because after a year goes by, if you have a competitor who is constantly optimizing their abandoned cart flow, they're going to take all your customers if you're just letting it sit there and not improving the conversion rate of your flow. All right. Alrighty, so that's all for this video here. Once again, if you want access to this document and access to our library full of our highest converting abandoned cart emails, link is in the description below. Also, if you want to see step-by-step instructions on how to actually set up this flow in Klaviyo, check out this video here. Other than that, thanks so much for watching.